Friday nights during the fall. Six-man fans gather to watch a sermon of grit and determination be delivered by 6 men, 10 minutes at a time, 4 quarters a night. Here you'll find the quarterback, is also the linebacker, and the kicker, where iron sharpens iron, where hard work pays off, and where 6 are won. Now for your host of 6 is 1, Coach Goldman.
Welcome back to 6 is 1. I'm glad to have today this morning on the phone with me. It's Coach Johnson. Coach, how you doing?
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing real well. So Coach Johnson's joining us. He will be the new head coach and is athletic director too, Coach?
No, just boys coordinator.
Okay, out at Prairie Lea?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Making sure I get all this right. So, now, the coaching carousel, and you've been a part of this, Coach. It's not the easiest gig in the world sometimes, but you're coming from Wichita Christian, correct, sir?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And you had about 5-6 years out there, I guess. That's a good long stint. So, well, if you can help us out, Coach, give us a little bit of your backstory, which interesting always is to know, what sports you played. Some of the coaches I've interviewed never didn't even play football, or if they did, it was through junior high. But kind of what and then what led you into being a coach and making this a profession.
Well, first, thank you for having me on the show. I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, and I graduated from Carter Riverside at 3A public school. And I played football, basketball, and baseball. And I was just decent. I wasn't very good. I had an opportunity to go to a college in Dallas called Paul Quinn College, and I played football there. And my major was criminal justice with a minor in criminology, and I wanted to be an FBI agent. And so then a buddy of mine who I grew up with, played a little ball with, basketball, pickup ball, convinced me to transfer over to Southwestern Assemblies of God at NAIA school in 2003, and played there for four years, and was a 2-time All-American in football. Had great coaching, and I just changed my major, wanted to go into education and wanted to teach and coach. And so I had some great guys that influenced me, and kind of going into that route. Archie Cooley that coached Jerry Rice at Mississippi Valley State. He was my offensive coordinator in high school and in college. And then Alexander Wright was one of my offensive coordinators who played for the Cowboys, got drafted in 1990, and he's been coaching 11-man ball. And so those two guys, played a huge part in me wanting to kind of pursue the coaching aspect. So I've been coaching since 2007, 9 years as a head coach, 6-man, and 3 years as an assistant. So I've got some years there, and all those years have been in the private sector. So I'm excited and looking forward to the opportunity at Prairie Lea, making that jump into the public system.
Gotcha. Now, so you went straight from your first coaching stint was then in 6-man. It wasn't in 11-man football. Is that correct, Coach?
Correct. Yeah, that was 2007.
Rare.
Well, I had played, and I didn't say this part, but after I graduated from Southwestern, I played arena ball out in West Texas for the Odessa Roughnecks.
Yeah.
And I played there, and I ended up having an injury, and that's not a money maker. My plan was to try to get to the Canadian League, was trying to go to at that time AFL 1 was around, trying to work my way up, use that as a stepping stone. And I had a couple of injuries that set me back, and I eventually got released halfway through the season. And so when I got released, my fiance, which is my wife now, my fiance at the time had just looked up some schools, and we ran across Glenview Christian School there in Fort Worth, and I applied, and the rest was history. I never heard of six. The first time I heard of six-man was 1999 in my senior year at Carter Riverside. I saw Gordon playing somebody in the semis or state championship game, some highlights. I was like, what is that? But when I started coaching in 2007, I fell in love with it. I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, it's unique, and it is definitely very, very different. Yeah, for those of us that came out of the 11-man side, I think probably some of the best advice I ever had was I had a mentor who said, look, take everything you know about 11-man football and then throw it away.
Right.
He said, really, you gotta just completely change your mindset about how you approach this sport. Now, I'll share with you, Coach, that I always think, because I've coached 8-year-olds up to 18-year-olds, and I love the younger, the more I enjoy, I think, the coaching. And the reason I say that is that the hearts are so pure. They approach the testosterone's not, the less the testosterone, right. the more the heart is in play, and that's not taking anything. But young men are becoming young men, and they're going to be contrarian and other like. But with those young people, and when you can sow into them, and you can, I always said, if you could take and make every player in the state of Texas have to play 6-man up until junior high, you would have an unstoppable 11-man team, because everybody would have learned how to move their feet quickly. Because unfortunately, you take a number of these young people when they're a bigger kid at a younger age, and you say you're going to be on the offensive line. And really, what you need to be saying is we need to be working on your footwork. Because I don't care if you end up being huge, you're going to be a pulling guard or a tackle. You need, the difference between being successful is all about how quick your feet are. No matter if you're 6'6", 285, or you're a speed guy on the side catching passes. So, and the other thing it does is it says, hey, you got to catch a football. You got to try to be agile. And I think that it would be just beautiful if, but that's kind of me waving that magic wand. But I think because I can't tell you the number of guys I've had come into our program from a public school where they played 11-man their entire life, or all the way up through, and they look at me, they're 200 pounds or 195, and they've been on the line, and I go, you're gonna have to catch a football. I don't catch, Coach.
Right.
Well, let me put it this way: if you don't catch the football, your brothers are going to be running a lot, because every time the ball hits the ground out here, we run. So you're going to learn real fast how to catch a football.
Right. Well, yeah. To piggyback off what you said with the lineman aspect, if you're big, if you're a 6'5" lineman and you don't have good footwork, those guys end up going D3 in AI. Maybe squeak in D2 and develop them a little bit. But like you said, if they got good feet, then they're going to have opportunity to play, high level football. But no, that's very true.
Yeah, athletic. That's what you hear all the time. Boy, he's an athletic kid for being, whatever, 6'8", 2, whatever. And yeah, well, he had to work on that. He probably somewhere along the way was blessed with having somebody that made him, not think like all he's going to do is put his, hand on the ground and take 2 steps. But yeah, well, now tell me a little bit, Coach, about playing, because we have a number of people that play at 6-man and now have that opportunity because of film being the driver behind recruiting at the next level. People picking up players at the next level. I think it opens up many doors for 6-man players who never get seen, but for now that we have so much film, and that's appears to be the principal way people are recruiting. They don't even make recruiting trips, from what I can tell from coaches. They tell me if they're going to make a recruiting trip, it's just to say hello to a guy they really want, and they already know they want him. They're not out there trying to find somebody else. So tell me a little bit about, because you've had some experience at 2 different colleges, and what you see at that NAIA level, because that seems to be a kind of nice sweet spot for a lot of, or opportunity for a lot of 6-man players.
Well, yeah, my experience. I was a head coach at a small college in northern Minnesota, and then of course we're a non-scholarship school, So, we're trying to find other ways to get student athletes into the college level. And just like you've been told, I mean, reality is I would get film. I would get film from coaches. I would reach out to, guys in my network that I coach select basketball with year in and year out. When I was, of course, that year when I was at Oak Hills Christian College, and they would send me game tape, and that's how the process started. At the NAI level, from my experience playing, it's a lot of schools do what they call an average scholarship. If I have an average scholarship of $5,000 and I'm trying to get a starting wide receiver, and then I want to get a kid that's going to probably be in our JV program, well, I go give that varsity starting wide receiver potential $9,000, and then I'll go give that kid that'll be in the JV program, I'll go give him $1,000. There you go. You got $10,000 between the two. The average is $5,000. So a lot of these student athletes that are playing at the next level, you see this roster of 150 kids at a small NA high school. Not all those kids aren't getting all full rides. Some of them are getting their books paid. Some of them they're getting 3 or 4 classes paid. Some of them getting room and board. And so the opportunity, it's out there for those student athletes, especially if they're going off the model of an average. Now, if you're allotted $100,000, when you run out of money, you run out of money. So from that standpoint, as a coach, you really stop recruiting unless you got a big time player and you're trying to figure out, well, how can we give him some more academic money, or it's just you're not motivated really to recruit guys, and now guys may still come on and walk on, but the average scholarship from the football way, and a lot of NAIA schools do that. That's kind of the way to go. Now, a good friend of mine who was he's at Southwestern, my alma mater, as the head basketball coach. He used to be at York College in Nebraska, small little bitty town. He had 40 guys by going off that average model. And I think he had about 5,500 or 6,000. And so he didn't really want to do it that way. He kind of wanted to, the program recruited it. Just people just came. Hey, I'm getting $1,000 athletic money. I'm going to come play ball, whatever. So some, they love it. But some, basketball's a little different dynamic, because now you're talking about, 40, 50 kids, and you're talking about, you don't have the coaching staff at that level to really coach those guys like they really need to be coached. So, So for football, it's a win-win. And so, the film, I always said, as a coach at that level, my job is to evaluate talent, not to say, they're playing 6-man ball or they're playing 8-man ball. My job is to evaluate talent. And a lot of the kids at the 6-man level, year in and year out, they get overlooked because they're playing 6-man football. And they're playing against, whoever. They're not playing against Duncanville or DeSoto High School. So I think it's our job to kind of change that the best we can with the circles, with the networks, and with the coaches that we know, to change that viewpoint. But now, you're seeing more and more 6-man guys going to that next level in the last 3 to 4 years than we've ever had.
Yeah, and I think really, and it's been the last 3 to 4 years, coaches have started, especially defensive backs. I mean, now that everybody's running some form of, spread, wide open offense, a premium is on tackling. I mean, there's just a huge premium on open field tackling. I mean, the days of linebackers, crouching, and really lining up and filling gaps, you're more often than not, you're seeing 5 DBs or even ends that are dropping back into pass coverage, right? I mean, I mean, so I think that, and that's what I always, is unique about 6-man. We don't coach, line up, pick them up, drive them for 5 all the way. I mean, we'd like to see good form tackling. We do teach good form tackling, but in the end, that guy just needs to be on the ground. I mean, you know,
Right.
I mean, here's the difference, because if he's not, there's a really high probability that he's going to be in the end zone, because we just don't have the you know, the way so many of these offenses, especially spread offenses, and where what they're trying to do is simply say, look, I'm trying to get my good athlete on your lesser athlete and get him the ball in space. You know, and that and that's what you see in six-man too about the kickoff, right? I mean, you see so many onside kicks. You know, and I got real frustrated with that, because for myself personally, I just don't like handing the ball to the other team at midfield every day. I mean, every series. There's something wrong about that, Coach. I mean, we kick off, by the way. Sometimes that might bite me in the butt, but you know, I just, giving up 20, 30 yards every time, it seems like over the course of a game where you're going to have 10 scores, you know, maybe each way, that's a lot of yardage.
It is.
But it was anyway. It's always interesting. Well, that's a good perspective. I think more coaches, if they would understand that there are opportunities for kids, that there are organizations out there that will help them, whether that's, you know, some of them are free, some of them are free plus paid, like NCSA and some of the others. But it seems that more and more these college coaches are relying upon these services to provide this film and to, you know, go through that and reach out to these young men. And what would you say too, because you've been in that, and this is a unique perspective, about the camps and the summers and the things like that these young men can attend? You know, what should they attend? You know, any feedback there on how a coach might be able to, you know, speak and help their guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think going to, you know, camp starting freshman or sophomore year, and just kind of getting your name on the radar. I had a kid, Evan Finley. He was a senior this year, 6'4", 210-pound spread back, and he's going to Abilene Christian as the invited walk-on. Now, he had some NAI opportunities and some D2 looks, but he's from Abilene originally, and so we just started sending him out to Abilene like by his sophomore year. And so he kind of was on there. He was kind of on the radar. Well, they're looking like this guy's 6'4", 215, 36-inch vertical. He wants to come to Abilene Christian. He's a good student. Well, yeah, we'll let him come and walk on, and if we want to pursue him further than that, then maybe he'll get some athletic money. But yeah, I would say sending kids to camps, getting on the radar. You know, there's still that stigma out there, and it's still, you know, some of those schools, the bigger schools, they're going to struggle with knowing the guy came from six-man. But if you get them in the camp, there's another thing too I want to mention. Also, when you send kids to camp, make sure they stand out by wearing the fluorescent color shorts. This may sound crazy, but
that's a good point. Yeah.
But seriously, when you look out there at our kid, in one of the camps we sent him to, there's about 20 receivers that were his size, his makeup, anywhere from 6'2" to 6'4". I'm like, Evan, you got to stand out. And so that's what we start working on. I mean, if he's a defensive back, give him some orange gloves, because what's going to happen is those kids are going to be working out, and then they're going to say, you remember that kid with the orange gloves? Now, they may say he's amazing, and they say, well, we're not interested. But at least that kid, he's going to stand out because of what he's wearing, or his hair's in a ponytail, or whatever. So that is something to really, really keep in mind when you're trying to expose them and get them really on the radar at a D2 level, for example, or even a small D1.
Yeah, that's a good point. I in the process of doing that with some of my boys, and that's good advice. That's really good advice. And you know, and you bring that up, and just the other day we came back from a camp, and that's how we reference. We don't know the names of these. You know, remember the kid with the blue gloves? You know?
Right.
Yeah, everybody was like, yeah, that was, you know, there was definitely. We were out at at Hardin Simmons, and there was definitely one kid out there that he was a receiver on the receiver side. I was there with a defensive back and a kid and a receiver kid, but. I mean, this kid was D1 all over him. I don't know what he was doing at that camp because he was blowing. Right. I don't know if he was, local and just needed to, to sprint a little bit and have some fun.
Right.
He was working people right and left. I mean, it was poor defensive backs that were out there. I mean, this kid was easily, that was another one. These laser times. People don't realize that a lot of my kids get disappointed when they get their laser time. Right, because they don't realize that a hand time, they're out there hand timing themselves and doing everything,
right.
And then they get another second and a half added to their 40. That laser doesn't cheat you. It's the moment you strike it, they don't realize the visual, how long it takes for you to see to stop and start. Adds that or I should say makes it slower. And so I always hear people, I got a 4.7 kid, or I got a 4.8 kid. I'm like, no, you got a 4.8 or a 4.95 kid is what you have, but so which is fine, but still, I'll take him. Don't worry, that's still quick enough to play.
There's not very many 4.5s. You read the Dave Campbell magazine, and you're like 4.5. Well, I'm like, there's not very many kids running 4.5 and 6-man football. That's just the reality. Handheld, maybe. Yeah. But when you get active track time, electronic time, no.
Yeah.
That 4.5 is going to go to 4.8 real quick. 4.7, at best. Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually the case. That's I've learned that one too. Watching my kids as they go through and get go to these combines and get laser time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Coach, you did mention that you had a fiance and it didn't take 19 years for you to marry her. That's good. So, So tell me a little bit about your family life. Do you have any children?
Yes, sir. We my wife, her name is Callie Johnson, and we've been married for. Oh man!
Don't worry. We don't go there because I can't do that one either.
Right.
Well, I won't ask you for the birth dates of your children either. That's the other one.
Next month will be 11 years for us. We have she's also a coach too. We have our son. His name is Julius. He loves football and basketball. He's a gym rat. He's going to be 10 in July, and then our daughter, her name is Kinley, and she is 7, my little princess, and then we're expecting one in November. And so it worked out, and my wife is going to be coaching over at Lockhart. She's going to be the head volleyball coach at Lockhart High School, mm-hmm. which is down by San Marcos and pretty close to Prairie Lea. So we've kind of been doing this coaching thing for a while. I think she's been coaching for 11 years.
Excellent.
1 year less than me.
Well, that's and that's a big sport. I always tell, and within our program, I always say that the football equivalent in the women's side, at least in Texas, is volleyball. And I know there'll be a lot of softball players out there that are gonna. Go, but those are just like the baseball players who take umbrage with the football. But one of our good coaches is a baseball coach, and he helps us out in football, all the time. But my deal is always with the basketball coach because he seems to want to get his players, early every year from the football program. Now you said you did some basketball, so I might be rubbing you the wrong way here. But my deal has always been look, when we're done playing football, they can go play basketball. And he's like, you don't need X, Y, or Z. I said the time you're asking is always the playoffs. Yeah, I need everybody. If you want to ask me week 1, I might be interested in letting so and so go. Right. But the semifinals of the playoffs, not the week to ask.
No.
And he got really upset last year because he had this one player, and I'd never seen him before. I got after basketball. He actually came over and spent the night with my sons, and you know, I started talking with him. He said, "Yeah, I've been a soccer player." I said, "Really?" Because he wasn't all that great a basketball player, but he was a good athlete. And I thought, well, you know, you're not really. And I'm always up front with kids. Like, you don't look like you played basketball very long, but you're very athletic. And he's like, "Oh, I've been playing select soccer for the last 9 years." I went, "Oh," and we can't.
Wow.
The year before, Coach, when we lined up to kick an extra point, Lord, it was like Bull Durham when they throw it and hit the pitcher that hits the mascot, right? And he has no idea where it's going, right? The louche or whatever. That was my kicker the year before. I mean, we line up and that thing go. You just didn't know where it was going. I mean, it almost could go backwards. You just didn't know. And we were 52%. I'll give him credit. 52% on extra point, which is horrible. And because those are 2 points every time. And so I ended up getting this kicker, I ended up going over to the field the next morning, waking all those boys up, and I said, "Let's go over." He never kicked a football. He never kicked a football in his life, and he puts 10 out of 11 right through the middle of the uprights.
Wow!
And I went, and without even like trying. He goes, "That's it? That's all you do?" I was like, "You've just become my favorite player."
Right.
And he went on last year to score the most points on the team, of course. He had a 45-yard field goal, a 37-yard field goal, and some other. I mean, he was just he was a sophomore, he's a junior, rising junior this year. And he'll have some. I told him, his family, you might be interested in going to some kicking camps this summer and seeing where he, But boy, that's a differentiator. And now the basketball coach is all the way to start. He's all up in arms. He's like, "Really? The one guy I had, you took him too." I said, "Yep." You didn't know he could
I
kick,
know what
did
you're talking about. Those basketball only guys. I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah, they're always.
Different breed.
Well, and in six-man or in programs as small as we are, typically, you get a lot of these young men and women are playing multiple. They have to. They play multiple sports, right? I mean, that's to make it work. And your better athletes are often going to play 2 or 3 sports, and so they're needing them. But yeah, I always tell them basketball. To me, basketball's the next year's sport. It starts in January. Really, come on, all that December stuff is practice. But now, will you be? What will your position be at Prairie Lea? So, what is your official title, and what will your responsibilities? Will you be teaching some too, Coach?
Yeah, I'll be teaching elementary PE.
Okay.
So, and I'll have junior high athletics, high school athletics. So I'll be teaching pretty much all the athletic and PE classes, starting from kindergarten all the way up.
Okay.
And then I'll be the head basketball coach as well on the boys' side.
Okay. Excellent. And now, why? I mean, just when you're out there and you're looking, and there's the opportunity for Prairie Lea because both you and your wife could move to the same area and coach. Is that what was the driving factor? What was the driving factor to choose Central Texas? Because I break it to you, Coach, you're a little ways from Wichita, so Falls.
Yeah, no doubt. We're originally from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. My wife's from Arlington originally, and I'm from Fort Worth. And so I think for us, I mean, we're Star Christian. We've been here for 4 years, and my wife, she teaches math and coaches volleyball and helps me with track. And, it was just strictly, I mean, with us growing our family, needing benefits. A lot of times, sometimes in the private schools, sometimes they don't offer benefits. They don't offer the insurance and the retirement and stuff like that. And some of them do. And so for us, it was, it was like last year, the year before, we're like, okay, so one of us is going to have to make the jump so we can start, planning and thinking ahead. Paying into TRS and getting the insurance. And then when my wife got pregnant, we found out, I think on St. Patrick's Day in March.
Yeah, by the way, you had nothing to do with that pregnancy? I'm just going to take her side on this one.
That's all Jesus. That's all Jesus, brother. But yeah, once we found out about that, Coach, we're like, yeah, okay, I think it's time. I mean, we had nothing negative to say about Wichita Christian. The community is great. The kids, the board, the admin. I mean, man, this is it's a great place. But, it's bittersweet. Our kids, all they know is Wichita Christian.
Yeah.
But, now going to Prairie Lea, my two kiddos are going to go with me to Prairie Lea. And then my wife, of course, she'll be at Lockhart. And, we're just going to be, I guess, 12 miles apart. The schools are about 12 miles apart.
Yeah, they're pretty close. Yeah, you're just down the road. We have players that come out of Lockhart and play for us. So,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
We have actually four or three.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
But our program is, of course, represents either private school. So those two of those young men come from a small private school. When I say small, I think they have 12 people in the private school. So I mean, our program represents all these little small private schools that don't have. It's too small to even have a sports program, right? So we consolidate them under one umbrella, and that's why we're called Tribe Consolidated. People just drop the consolidated along. I got tired of, so none of us say it anymore. But that's effectively the way we approach it. Well, great. I mean, the one thing about that I was sharing with a coach the other day, with public school, we all play each other. So charters, publics, private, within the six-man, that is the really what I really embrace and love about six-man football. One of the elements is this ability to call up a coach and say, yeah, I'll play you. Yeah, I'll play you. There's nothing out there that says, no, you can't play private schools. No, you can't play, charter schools. You have to stay within this. And I do like that element because it does make a better brotherhood within the coaching ranks as well. And we're glad to have you here in Central Texas because look forward to meeting you, and we'll pull that off at one point since we're not that far apart.
Right.
The team you're taking over has had some rough years there on I don't know about basketball. I know on football they've
right.
So what's your focus when you go in this season? What's kind of when your initial focus going to be? Usually you have I like most coaches, goals, right? And you're not going to try to bite everything off at once. But what's kind of your initial focus?
Well, I consider myself a builder and a rebuilder. It's funny. I've got a bunch of buddies that's like, they haven't won, and I said, look, I don't take a job without watching film, without doing my homework or doing my research. Every program that I've taken, we've taken it to the next level. Now that's not all on me. That's having great support from admin, parents, and getting that buy-in. So to me, I always feel like year one is year zero on the job. You got to give things time. So my thing is going in and starting in the summer. I mean, we're going to start here in about 2 weeks. We're moving actually on Friday. My wife starts on Monday at Lockhart, and then I'll be starting in about 2 weeks at Prairie Lea and implementing the strength and conditioning program. Mm-hmm. And they haven't had that in the last 3 years. They've had some late hires, and that's kind of set them back. And so, the AD there, Coach Ackland, she's amazing, and she is so supportive. And I've been talking to her for over a year. They kind of went after us last year, and it just didn't work out. But so she's gonna let me put my program in this summer, and we're gonna have about 5 or 6 weeks. So we're gonna flat out get after it, 3 to 4 days a week. So, but it's getting the kids. I've always scheduled tough. Because I believe in, this is just my philosophy, I believe in I like to go 1-1 after the first 2 games. I want an opponent that's going to hit us in the mouth, and then whether that's the first game or second game, because I feel like you can learn from that win, and you can also learn from that loss. Sometimes you need that slice of humble pie. So their football program is in a very sensitive state because they haven't won. They didn't win last year. 2 years ago, they won one game. So they've won one game in 2 years now. They've got decent pieces. They got decent athletes. They just need somebody that's going to build them up, that can put them a schedule together early on where they can at least be competitive and say, even through this loss, we can persevere and see that we had victories, small victories in this loss. So I've got a plan, and there's some stuff I just won't go into detail really with anybody until I get into that program. But, it's taking baby steps, and it's taking it day by day and week by week. I mean, I won't even address our district schedule until we even get way down in the season because, like I know, Coach, in this game, your team could be completely different week 5 to week 2.
Oh, yeah. Injuries, grades.
One kid goes out. Grades. One kid goes out. At our level, a key player, spread back goes out or quarterback goes down, then that can shift the whole dynamic of your team.
Oh, I tell you, we were in a state title game last year. I lost my my kind of quarterback slash, he called everything all season, and the leading tackler on my team in the semifinals, fourth quarter of a game we'd already, or actually I should say second quarter because we 45'd him, and it's one of those things. Boy, if I just pulled him out 1 minute earlier, right? But you never, it's just a freak. It's a freak thing, right? But you got 1 week to get ready, and you say, in the state title game. But it was a blessing, right? So nobody knew how to prepare for it. Even we didn't know how to prepare. We had to change what we were doing, right? Because it significantly impacted every element of what we were going to do, and some younger gentlemen had to step up. But nobody had film on what was going to transpire. Because
right.
I mean, you got to look at. That's why I went back to our team and said, "Here's the good news. The bad news is we lost a very influential player in the way that we play football. The good news is nobody else has seen the way we're about to play this coming week."
Right.
So I mean, you can go back and look at if they'd asked for all 10 games, I'd have said, "Here, have them all." They're not going to help you.
Right.
That is one of those things that you just you never know, right? With the way the season's going to go. So now, Coach, you had mentioned faith, and I'm a big proponent of instilling in young men, especially. I think football is just a wonderful discipline by which to instill life lessons, and to me the foundation of the life lessons that we teach and preach are biblical. And now some people may not look at the Bible as their basis for, but I guarantee if they're talking about the things they should be talking about, they're all biblical concepts. So explain to me just a little bit what the role faith does play in your life, if it will play a role in the program, and how you would adapt that, and share with us a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Well, my background, I mean, first, my wife is a pastor's kid, so you know how that is. But I accepted Christ really, for personally when I was in college, at Southwestern. And I just knew the right lingo on the faith statement just to say what I needed to say to get into the school. But I knew about God. I knew there was God, but I really didn't really accept Him for myself really until my freshman year at Southwestern in January of 2003. And so it's been a process, and there's something that, and I met with a kid at Prairie Lea a little over a week ago. And I told him, I said, my coaching staff, we won't cuss. We'll never belittle you. we're going to get after you for sure and hold you accountable. But I'm a man of integrity, and I expect y'all to be men of integrity. And so it's going to be, I guess my question was with a couple of my buddies, what does this look like going into the small public school? Like, can I pray with the kids? I'm just trying to get a feel from some of my buddies. A buddy of mine that used to be at Throckmorton, and he's like, man, I pray with our kids. He's like, Bible belt. He's like, we still have a little bit of that even in the public sector, and I don't think, anybody's going to really frown upon that. And so the AD at Prairie Lea is a Christian. I'm not sure who else really in the admin. I'm not sure about, some of the other individuals, but that is first. That's number one priority. And so, I just want to see where God's going to lead us, and how He's going to bless these two communities. I mean, the Lockhart opportunity just was strictly, I don't want to be cliche, but this is so true. The Lockhart opportunity was such a God thing because we weren't even supposed to go there. We were supposed to go West Texas, and I won't name the school, but we were supposed to go to West Texas, a two-way school that was ready to offer us. And just out of nowhere, my wife's like, it's Good Friday, come up in 2 days, we need to make a decision. What are we doing? And next thing you know, this email at some random time just came across my laptop. And we were about to make a decision in an hour to make that trip out west. And there you go. She has the interview at Lockhart, and the rest is history. And I won't ever forget, I had a gentleman, a real estate agent that I was working with, and he was just like, New Testament talks about two or more. He said, let's just believe that she's going to find something. Let's just agree and believe, that she's going to find something in Lockhart. And, in my mind, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, Lockhart, Lilleen, San Marcos. But I said, no, I've got to trust. I got to trust God in this. And I just claimed that. I claimed that. And I told my wife, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it's like, what if? And there's that human element. And I said, no, we've got to trust. We got to trust. And the rest was history. I mean.
It's good. That's a good word. Yeah.
She's coming from and she's a great coach, but she's coming from a small 1A tap school to be a head coach at a 5A UIL school. So that is, I mean, that's God opening the door, and just how it all lined out. So we're excited about that, and she's excited about that.
Great.
Going into that community.
Mm-hmm. It's a good community.
As a believer.
Yeah, it's a good community. Like I mentioned, we've drawn players out of that area for years, and good folks down. Great barbecue, best barbecue around.
Yeah.
Now I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but I want you to know right now, Coach. You said you better get your wife to understand that you better be able to answer, where do you eat your barbecue? And so the best answer to that one, I'm going to tell you right now, is you go, I like my brisket here, I like my sausage there, and I like my my chicken over here. So you cover all your stuff. Figure out a way, because that's the political way of handling the barbecue question, because it will come. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, so you better.
I need to write that down.
Yeah, because that's the best advice you got all day. Trust me, that's gold right there. That is solid gold. Because whether you're at Blacks or Kreitz or any of the others out there, you're gonna and see. Somebody's gonna go. You didn't say Kreitz and then Blacks or Black. I'm not going there, guys. I eat all of them.
I ate at Lilleen at the bar. I ate at Lilleen at a barbecue place when we went on the interview in April.
Yeah, the meat market there, probably. Yeah.
And the board president was like, "No, you needed to eat across the street." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He said, "That you went to you got sloppy seconds right there. You need to go to one across the street." I said,
yeah, see.
All right, I'll write that down next time. But I didn't want to. I don't want to offend anybody.
They're serious about their barbecue. You're in the barbecue corridor, my friend. You are really in it right now. I'm telling you. Well, I always like to wrap up, Coach, with have a coach share with me a moment that they had with the officials. Now, this could be football, basketball, but I always let people know. For early in my career, I was an official, football official. I didn't. That's the only thing I officiate. But I always found coaches to be some of the most humorous. I love the side. I wanted to work the sideline because I like to hear what they had to say. I mean, I'm a sick kind of guy that way. Right. But we all, while officials never make a mistake, they sometimes need guidance. What is it that if there's a moment or something that encapsulates that it's around some form of official that you can draw upon and share with us?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I officiate basketball, just FYI.
Okay.
So I kind of changed my perspective as a basketball coach. I definitely calmed down once I started officiating about 6 years ago. But I'll tell you about it. In 2007, I was at Glenview Christian School, and we played Fredericksburg Heritage in the state championship game. And, man, we got outplayed. We got outcoached. I mean, all of the above by Shipman and company. And we lost in double overtime by 6 points. Well, that year, later in that year, I was the D coordinator there at Glenview. I was the head JV football coach. We had a game versus Denton Calvary in this little park next to apartment complex. They had no goalposts, and I get it's just JV, small school. And they had some soccer goals, so we're just like, what? Okay, we're playing football, whatever. And so I won't ever forget, we're in the second quarter. I think we won the game by 2 touchdowns, but second quarter, I think we're down by like 2 or 3 points, and there's no they're keeping the White Hats keeping the clock, the game clock, like keeping everything on this person. And so I remember thinking, there's like, okay, we ran out of bounds midfield. It's got to be like 8 seconds left, because before this, there was close to 15 seconds in the half. And I remember the official saying, I said, how much time is there, sir? Because we got one timeout left. Mm-hmm. We can throw a little quick, a little bubble screen, get out of bounds, whatever. Call a quick timeout. And then the official's like, we got one play. And it's funny because one of my kids posted this, reminded me of this on Facebook on something that I'd shared. And I was like, what? You got one play, coach? And I looked at my D coordinator, who was my AD and head football coach for the varsity. And I'm like, Jesse, what is it? I said, Mr. Whitehat, how much time is on the clock? I need to. Coach, I've already told you, I'm not going to tell you. Get back on your side. You've got one play. And I'm like,
that's not time.
I don't understand. And I was, I'm a rookie coach.
Yeah, you didn't realize he's got a place to be. You got one play.
I'm like, you're killing me. I've got a timeout if I have enough. No, I don't have. And then we snapped the ball, and we just threw it. It got batted down through the end zone. But, we had some time on there. But it was just funny because I was like, he just told me 4 times, get back, coach. Get back. I already told you, you've got one play. Just tell me how much time is in the game, in the half. I don't understand this.
Oh, no. I tell you, when we played sub-varsity, when we did sub-varsity games, it was a running. And they couldn't get the clock to work, or the clock operator wasn't there, because it happens all the time, right? Because somebody didn't set up the clock for. Well, that was the best moment ever for an officiating crew, because we knew we were going to be gone.
Oh man, I'm telling you. And then we've got people all behind, in the apartments, like coming and walking and watching the game, and there's no really sideline. I mean, we're literally at a park that just had some had 100 yards of field that they striped off, had 2 soccer goal posts, and there's some trees around it. This is the craziest thing. I mean, welcome to six-man football. Like, I'm like, what is this? Like, it's weird. It was weird, but it was, I've seen it all. I've seen it all when it comes to, different fields, and, I'm low maintenance, so it's fine. Let's play football, So.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Coach, for taking the time this morning to share with us. Really great words there. I'm gonna let everybody know, because I've been told that if you get an opportunity, you can subscribe below if you're watching this the webcast on YouTube. Mm-hmm. If you're on SoundCloud, you can subscribe there. That's where you get the podcast. As always, where you can sign up for notifications as well about the upcoming episodes at sixasone.com. Coach Johnson, thank you again. Looking forward to having you out in our neck of the woods.
Well, thank you.
All right, and at this point, we will wish everybody a blessed day.